Let's continue on here on the College Lacrosse Preview Show. Next on the hot seat, he is the head coach at Johns Hopkins. He's Coach Peter Milliman, and he's back with us now here on the program. Coach, it's Glenn and Patrick Stevens. It's always great to catch up with you. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
For sure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Coach, obviously I know a year ago, very exciting for everybody at Johns Hopkins. And while it wasn't a national championship, was this always building? Like when we look back and sort of dissect, if I said, hey, how did that happen a year ago? Would you say that was, it just takes a couple of years in order to get the foundation of the program that you want? Or were there specific moments, specific players, arrivals, something like that that you look back on and say, hey, this was really foundational in how we were able to get things turned around?
I guess in reference to last year, I think there was some significant contributions from a senior class that I thought it was pretty special. I think there was a lot of guys, that maybe saw things coming or things starting to line up, but at the end of the day, it was part of the process, is part of the build, and the guys that were coaching here this year are excited to get this thing started with the 2024 Jays, and I think they're all feeling pretty excited about that.
Peter, I know one of the big additions for you guys, Chase Erlin from Cornell in the cage. I know you had a pre-existing relationship with him, recruiting him to Cornell. What's the excitement level adding him, and how quickly, upon knowing that he was going to look to play an extra year, were you in contact with him about potentially becoming a Blue Jay?
I called him as soon as he went in the portal, and we just started having a conversation about this as an opportunity. We have an education program here. He is interested in being an educator and a coach and a teacher, and he's just been always on that path since the day I met him. And so this just seemed to be a good opportunity for him in his career path, and he had another year of eligibility, and obviously getting a chance to reconnect and bringing him here has been exciting, addition. So we're looking forward to compete together.
What makes him so special as a player, Coach?
He's competitive. He's a phenomenal teammate. I think the guys really enjoy being around him, working with him. He's obsessive about the work. He just loves it. He loves being out there. He's an energy guy, so he's always bringing that. You can hear him. If you turn your mics up, you can probably hear him, your headphones. So he's around here somewhere talking. So he's just one of those guys, like, he's an enjoyable guy to have on a team, and he works his butt off. And so he's endears himself to his teammates pretty well.
Coach Peter Milliman from Johns Hopkins is with us here on the College Lacrosse Preview Show. Coach, you mentioned some of the seniors last year. You guys bring back a lot of that offense, and I know that some of that year, every team is different, every year is different. But is there a bit of a, hey, we have confidence that we're going to be capable in scoring goals because of some of the guys that are back this year, the Dagnons, the Melendezes, those players that, like, you just have an uber confidence in what you're going to be capable of doing offensively?
I think there's definitely a belief in that. Confidence comes from a certainty, and we haven't done anything yet this year. So I don't think that anybody's getting overconfident about anything that we're doing. We're just we're excited to get to work together. I mean, having some pieces back for consistency and some experience, plays a big part. But we got to score one goal against Denver before we score anything else. So I think just staying focused on one thing at a time, what's right in front of us, and keeping the guys hungry for another one after one falls.
Peter, the defense obviously also emerged as a strength last season, and a couple guys that are back there include Scott Smith on close, Brett Martin at short stick. Those two guys in particular, but the unit in general, what do you feel like those guys' greatest strengths are for you?
I mean, similar to what I mentioned about Chase. I mean, they're just ultra competitive guys. They work their butts off. Coach K is as thorough as they get when it comes to a defensive coordinator. He's going to have those guys dialed in with the right stuff. He's going to have everything prepped the right way, and give the guys an opportunity to just go after it and compete and play. And I think that's where they want to be. trying not to get them too bogged down in system stuff and allow them to just be athletes. It's a great group. We're excited to be working with them. I think there's, again, similar to the offensive end, there's some known pieces there that we've worked with for a while, but as of right now, we haven't done anything yet. So we're just excited to get started.
You mentioned, obviously, the season gets underway Saturday at noon against Denver there at Homewood Field. Coach, you guys brought in what was lauded as one of the top recruiting classes in the country. Can you give us an idea of, among the young guys, who stood out that you feel like is going to have an opportunity to get some minutes early?
There's a few guys probably in the mix. I don't know how many of them are definite yet. Young defenseman Quentin Kilrain's been really good. Hunter Chevette and Jimmy Ayers have been in the mix so far. I think there's a few others that are close. Luke Martin's in the mix as a backup pole. So I think there's a few others that may continue to work their way in, but we've got a lot of returners, a lot of upperclassmen, so it's not an easy lineup to crack. So I'm not sure any of those freshmen are going to start a game, but
right.
I think those ones have proven that they have the ability to be in that conversation.
The schedule this year, obviously, a lot of those rivalry games. I think about the Carolina and Virginia games that you had to play midweek because of the ACC scheduling issues now on the weekend. How beneficial do you think that's going to be for you guys, basically being into a more routine one game a week, especially those sorts of games on the weekend rather than on short prep when you get to them, obviously?
They probably will help you in those games. Sometimes I think those shorter weeks or the doubled up weekends can help you in the long run. So I think there's a benefit to all sides of it. But we're looking forward to playing those rivalries. Wherever they are. Last year we had to put them on weekdays, and I wasn't afraid of it or worried about it. It didn't go our way in some of those instances, but you're going to play those top teams wherever you can, whenever you need to. So, I think a week of prep may help us, but who knows? We got to get there first. So, if we're not playing well, it may not help us. So.
Oh, I get it, and I certainly get the value too of you got to play the Big Ten tournament, the NCAA championship weekend, and quick turnarounds, and so I certainly see where there could be an advantage on the other side. With that in mind, Coach, the difference between being a good team and a team that had a nice season and then taking that next step and getting back to championship weekend and trying to win a title. Do you have a sense for what would be needed? What's the difference in being good and being championship level good?
I think there's a few pieces in that equation. I'm not going to be foolish enough to think that I know all of what they are. I just want to make sure that we're getting the best out of our guys every day in practice, and we're continuing to build. I think if we're going to be an elite team and be somebody that can compete for championships, we're going to have to be competitive in every facet of the game. And I don't think you get to that point by riding one or two, strengths or one or two players. We need to be a possession-oriented team. We need to be disciplined in our execution. We need to be, tough on defense. We need to fight like crazy for loose balls. There needs to be a belief and a confidence in the guys in what we're doing. Really, I just think there needs to be a hunger to get better in everything we're doing and never be satisfied with where we are. And if we start with that, I think, the formula can sort itself out with how our attributes, come into form.
Patrick and I were talking just before you came on about the fact that the new rule this year and finally having replay and coaches' challenges, presumably a bit of advantage for a program like Johns Hopkins, considering you've got all the ESPN broadcasts and probably a little bit better angles. Have you gotten a sense for what that might look like, how you decide in certain situations, what's worth it, what's not worth it? I don't know if you guys even used it. Did you use it for the scrimmages so far?
No, and I'm not entirely sure yet how much it'll even be used this year.
Okay.
It's just kind of come on so late. The Big Ten has decided not to do it, so it's more of a team by team basis. So we need to go into each game figuring out who's planning on doing it at their home field, whether we're going to or not. And so those are just things that are not fully answered yet, as odd as that is.
The good news, we got plenty of time
we're
before the
working through it.
games start,
Yeah.
right? Like, no problem.
Yeah, plenty of time. I can tell you right now, if I look at my schedule, I don't know who is going to have replay on their stadium or not. So
Okay.
it'll probably be more of a week by week thing.
Obviously, will be helpful though by the time you get to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, we get some practice at it before we get there for sure.
Yeah.
But having the Big Ten decide not to do it is kind of an impact in when it comes to that. So I think I would be surprised if every other team is going to do it, because there's just such a big cost component to it, and then there's the consistency of it. If you're going to do it 3 times throughout the year, is it worth it for those as much as the rest of them? I think it would be for us to get the experience of it, but if you're only going to do it for a couple games, you want to make sure that you're building for knowns that you can work around all year long. Completely
understand. All right, Saturday, everything gets underway out at Homewood Field, and then as Patrick brought up, there is a midweek game next week against Towson, 4 o'clock on Tuesday as well, so a couple of great opportunities to see the Blue Jays early on at home. Coach Peter Milliman, really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing your team throughout the course of the season. Thanks for spending some time with us today.
You got it. Thanks for having me, guys.
It's Coach Peter Milliman from Johns Hopkins. That is, I didn't know that the Big Ten wasn't using it.
I didn't either, actually. So
that's quite fascinating, right?
Well, if the Big Ten's not using it,
yeah,
then that basically only leaves one league that's likely to use it, right?
The ACC, yeah.
And that's, they'll obviously have pretty much all their games on TV, but if they don't use it, then you're
what was the point?
What was the point?
What was the point?